Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do it for me. Praise the Lord, everyone. We're so excited to be with you tonight. And I am just elated because we are bringing about such a great information tonight on a very important subject. I am truly honored to have a special guest with us tonight, Miss Stephanie Huhn, and she is going to be sharing some very important, some very phenomenal, extraordinary, amazing, awesome. I just can't express how wonderful tonight is going to be. So we're giving you just a few minutes. We're asking you to please share tonight, to like and share. We want thousands to be connected with us tonight. And we want this broadcast to go viral. We thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be able to see your comments. I'm going to be able to see who's sharing tonight because it's so important that as many people as possible can connect with us with this very important subject on eradicating anxiety, stress, and depression, and all those things that we're dealing with right now during this time where we're in a pandemic. I see you coming in, yes, during this time where our nation is at odds and just so much is going on right now. And we are so grateful to be able to take a moment to be able to bring you some information, to be able to bring you some ideas, some things to consider, some things to take hold and grasp at this time so that we can get through this together. And I'm so thankful that Ms. Stephanie Huhn has agreed to be with us tonight. I am elated.
I
I
am so happy to be here.
Yes, and I'm grateful because we're able to watch her many times on Fox 2 Detroit, and she is such a wonderful person, loving person, and as she stated, we have like-minded ideas, or we are concerned with one's health, we're concerned with healing, we're concerned with people being whole, and we have that connection because we care about mankind and the wellness, and we just care about your well-being. And so this is a wonderful time. We're right at 8:02. We're going to give you one more minute. We're asking if you would please share, if you would please like, let everyone know. Soul Harvest Ministries is on the air with the wonderful, phenomenal Miss Stephanie Huhn. She's going to be giving us some great pointers tonight, great information. We've submitted questions that have come in, and she has wonderful information. Thank you that she'll be sharing with us that she receives frequently, and she knows how to address and what to give out during this time. And so we're so grateful for that. We see you coming in. Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. And my daughter has my phone, and she's sharing right now. And just one
Oh,
more minute. We want as many as possible to be on the air. We want this to go viral. We want as many to be connected. We want thousands to be able to see this. So grateful to be able to do this tonight. Such a great time, opportune moment. Especially, thank you so much, especially in light of what we're going through right now. Whoa, we look great. Nice to see you guys. Thank you. Thank
do we have a
you.
lot of people joining?
Yes, people
Oh,
are coming
good.
in. Yes, I thank you. Thank you for sharing. People share, share, share. Because as we share, that'll allow hundreds and thousands to come on tonight. Again, we want as many people to come on as possible. Want to give a shout out to our own bishop, Bishop Lewis E. Evans and Mother Evans. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to do this prayer and chat tonight with such a wonderful, wonderful person. Thank you all for sharing. I see your comments coming in. I thank you. And we're going to get started. We're at 8:04. We're going to get started.
Okay,
Um,
I'm ready.
yes. I cannot wait for Miss Hume to tell you about herself and her experience and her life and her credentials and all of that. I'm just going to let her start off with the information that she would like to give about herself and her background. It's so phenomenal. So we're just going to start with that. Thank you all. I see your comments. We're just
Aw.
going to start with that just so that you know who she is. I am just so honored again because she frequently on Fox 2 Detroit and has agreed to be with us tonight. Such a wonderful opportunity to connect. And I just want to thank you, Stephanie, for being with us tonight. And you have such a wonderful spirit and just such a loving heart. And I just thank you for connecting with us and helping us through this process and this time in which we're dealing with so much. But Stephanie, I'm sorry for running my mouth.
It's okay. I told you we're like, I'm a talker too, so I get it.
I know, I love that. Like we get along so well.
Yes.
Go ahead, Stephanie. Please let the audience know. Those that may not have seen you before know. I don't know how that's possible, but let them know about you, your background, and anything
Yeah.
else that you want to share.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel so honored to have opportunities like this to be able to share. And, you know, like I like helping people. I like getting info out there and help, you know, promote healing and growth and health. So, and I want to tell you a little bit about me, just so you know where my background expertise is, my education, and then also where I'm coming from as just a person, you know, like what drives me and why this is important to me. So I'll try to be quick here, but okay. So I am a licensed psychotherapist in the state of Michigan. I have a master's in psychology from the Michigan School of Psychology. And my background there is I was trained in humanistic psychology, and that's a certain brand that really looks at the whole person and considers everyone unique and really values helping people find meaning in their life. So that's kind of where I come from. And I am also a certified brain injury specialist. I'm a certified addiction specialist, a complex trauma specialist, and a certified case manager as well. So there's a bunch of letters, but I just say, you know, trauma and addiction are really the main things that I'm passionate about talking about. I've been practicing for over 10 years, and I've had a lot of different roles, worked at a lot of different places. Currently, I work at Rainbow Rehabilitation in Metro Detroit, and they do all kinds of therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, of course, mental health, substance abuse. And I have all kinds of hats that I wear there. I do admissions and assessment and program development. But my passion, again, is this. It's speaking, it's sharing, it's advocating, it's providing education. As you mentioned, I've been on Fox 2 several times. I do lots of presentations and webinars at professional conferences and other places. I really feel like this info, and you'll watch me, I'll get fired up. Like it means so much to me, and I want people to have it because I know not just professionally, but personally, how these things have helped me grow and change and heal. And I couldn't ask for more. So again, thank you for having me. This is very meaningful to me. And I hope I can, you know, bring some info to you guys as well, all the viewers.
I'm sure tonight is going to be just a wealth of knowledge and just, you know, a time where we can just release and, you know, take in all of the information that you're going to share tonight. I already know by just looking at the questions and the things that have come in, and I am so excited and I am just so elated with the commonality that we have, you know, because I'm a person of the gifts and ensuring that people are operating in their gifts and talents. And that sounds a lot of what Rainbow does. And it's just so amazing
It
that we
is,
have so
yeah.
much likeness. And so this is just a great night.
It is. And I forgot to add the other thing when I'm talking about my passion. I do have a website that's personal and for me as a speaker, and there's a lot of good resources on there. So I will refer to that several times because it was too much to put on one page. I just put it all on my resources page, but I do have some things I can share later. And that's healingthewhole.org, and whole is spelled WHOLE. So healing the whole. Yeah, there's a lot of good info on there. I try to put like any upcoming events, any free videos, any resources that can help people and give a little more info about what we're going to talk about tonight. So
Amazing, just amazing. All right, let's just jump into it now that everyone knows about you, knows what you do and what you stand for and everything. Let's talk about the importance of mental health. So many times we look over it, we, focus on so many other things physically, but we don't, tap into what's going with us and those around us mentally. And so, if you wouldn't mind, Stephanie, just telling the people why a session like this is so important
Mhm.
and why mental health is so important, especially in these times.
Absolutely. And this is a thing with my heart. Like I will tell you why it's important. It's very important to me. And I like how you compared it to physical health because I try to compare it to that too, because it's similar. And they're so interrelated, right? So if we have anxiety, for example, that's going to affect our sleep and our immune system and all these things. So, our mental health, our physical health are related. And so health is like physical health. It's about our overall wellness, right? But with mental health, we're talking about wellness as related to mood and behaviors and thoughts and our ability to function well and feel well. And are we free from illness? Are we free from disease or dis-ease? um,
Oh, yes.
yeah, and I just, here's the thing is that even though they're so similar, right? They're both parts of us. We don't often treat them the same or look at them the same in society. Um, if you have an issue with your thyroid or a broken bone, or you have to take some time off because you got a cold, we don't really get that scared about talking about that. But if you had a panic attack, or you have a bout of seasonal depression, or you develop postpartum depression, that's a little scarier to talk about. And I think it's because of stigma that's been around mental health for a long time, and fear of people saying, either calling you or thinking of you as like weak or incapable or not good enough or something like this. But, I think we need to normalize mental health because it is part of who we are, right? We're not just physical. We are spiritual, we're emotional, we're physical, we're all these things. So why would we ignore such a big piece of who we are? And I just try to think, imagine if you treated a physical issue like this. If someone's like, you break your arm and it's twisted sideways and someone's like, oh, are you okay? And you're like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm just tired, you just don't deal with it. That's crazy. We would never do that. But that's what happens with mental health issues. We say, oh, yeah, no, I'm not depressed. I'm fine, or don't seek treatment or whatever. And so it's so important because if you don't, as we know, unresolved mental health issues will do like unresolved physical health issues do. They get worse for the most part, So I think, I get real passionate about like destigmatizing mental health because it's normal. It needs to be normalized. And we can't be our best self unless we take care of all aspects of ourselves.
Yes, I love how you just put that together so beautifully. And
Thank you.
yes, a lot of times it's overlooked. We ignore it. We don't look at it as an important part of us. And as you stated, we look at others if they're dealing with mental health issues. We kind of push them to the side sometimes and don't include them. Don't offer help a lot of times. Sometimes we don't even know how to help. And so this event, this session is so important, and I'm so grateful that we're talking about it. I was listening to
Me
a
too.
song this morning and it was just amazing. I love how these Friday chats come together because it's like I get all this information. It just works wonderfully for the day. This morning, I was listening to a song on the way to work, and it talked about, I have a smile on my face, but I'm not okay inside. I come, around and I'll, act a certain way, but I'm hurting inside. And many times people are going through these emotions. And as you stated, it just gets worse over time if we don't talk about them, if we don't admit, how we're feeling. The host was stating, it's okay to say, no, I'm not okay today, but I'm working on getting better, or I'm focusing on the betterment of my mental health. It's okay to say, no, I'm not okay. And as you stated, we stigmatize mental issues, mental health, and things like that, and we don't tackle it. We run away from it. We look at it as abnormal when in fact it is a big part of us, and it's something that we need to really think about, focus on, and really tackle. And I'm so grateful to have this moment because I just know that many thousands are going to get better because of your presence tonight. So I thank you for
Oh,
that, talking about the importance of mental
yeah.
health. And I have made a promise to myself that I will never, no longer overlook it. Even if I'm struggling with something, I'm going to talk about it. Look, I need help. Many times we hold things in and we don't say, we don't reach out. I will not overlook someone else that may be struggling. Sometimes we turn the other cheek because, again, we don't know what to say, how to handle it. So it's something that I'm very optimistic about helping others get through because we're in such a sensitive time right now. So it's so important. So I'm just so
I
excited.
totally
I'm
agree.
passionate too about it.
Yes, me too. And I love how a song came for you. I
You
feel
know, right?
come together,
Right.
and yeah, that's
Oh, I
awesome.
thank you. This is
Yes,
amazing. This is
yes,
really meant to be.
it is.
Um,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so we hear a lot about stress. Stress,
Mhm.
stress, stress. People will say it, in a minute. I'm stressed out. It's such a common term. We hear a lot about stress, especially these days. Again, where our nation is divided. We
Mhm.
today, well, actually, yesterday, Thursday, was deemed one of the highest numbers in deaths due to this pandemic. I believe over
Oh my gosh.
4,000 people lost their lives due to COVID-19 in the United States. Yesterday, Thursday, was one of the deadliest days in our nation.
And this
And
is an
so,
addition to everything else going on.
yes, everything
And
else that comes
right.
along with it. Yes, work,
And
school.
yeah. And there's political environments, and
Yes.
there's a lot of loss, as loss of life, of course, is what comes to the forefront, but there's, people are losing jobs, and people are losing their sense of normalcy, their sense of safety, their sense of stability, their sense of identity. This is who I am because I, go to work every day and this is where I work. And then you lose all that. So there's a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So how can, if you wouldn't mind talking about how stress and how it relates to our
Yeah.
mental health? Stress.
Absolutely. So stress, I always like to start with, well, what is it? And I
Yes.
talk about it like it's a thing.
Mhm.
I have so much stress and it's like, well, let me see it then. You can't put it in a bucket, right? You can't pass it off to someone.
Yes.
I say this because it's important that we acknowledge that stress is something that lives inside us. And it lives inside us in the forms of our thoughts, our perceptions, and our feelings. That's what stress is. And the thoughts and perceptions are things like, I can't, this is too much, this is too hard, I'm all alone, no one understands, I have to be perfect, and on and on and on. And then the associated feelings, sadness, hopelessness, helplessness, anger, overwhelmed, resentment, on and on and on. So these combined, this is stress. This is what we feel when we say I'm stressed. And there's a lot of circumstances that can cause this. So sudden changes, of course, like we're seeing now, loss, like you just mentioned, all different kinds of losses, challenges at work, at school, with relationships, tons of things, right? And so we can see then how stress ties directly to our mental health and mental health issues, especially anxiety and depression, which are the most common types of issues that we deal with. And they each have, under anxiety, there's a lot of different anxiety disorders. There's a lot of different depressive disorders, but just in general, those groups are very common in the US and around the world, sadly.
Wow, amazing. And I like the fact that how you identify stress. That's a relief in itself. just to know why I'm feeling
Right.
this way, where this is all coming from. It's just a relief in itself to get that knowledge, to know,
Sometimes that perspective helps,
yes,
right? It's like someone explained it to me like that a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. Like, I think it's this real big scary thing, stress.
mhm,
Can you show it to me then? Where is it?
right,
It's not. It's not to discount it that it's not
yeah,
difficult, because we're human and
right,
these circumstances are hard, and we don't are not always perfect. That's what it means to be human. So we all
right,
feel stress
right.
like these, but I like that perspective too. It helps take away some of its power.
Yes. All right, let's talk about the pandemic. Of course, it's huge and everyone's really, everyone's impacted by it one way or another.
Mhm.
We have children at home, homeschooling, parents at home, working from home, trying to be a teacher, the principal, the nurse's aide, the lunchroom person,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
On top of some are working from home as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
much is going on right now, and I hear every day I'm talking with youth and parents. How prevalent are these mental health issues in our society, especially now
Hmm.
during the pandemic? How prevalent are these mental health issues?
Sadly, very prevalent, but and I don't think that's really a surprise. I think we see that there are issues going on in our society, and there have been for a long time. Even before COVID, before the pandemic, about 20% of adults in the US have a mental health diagnosis. That's 66 million people. And even sadder, like more than half of them don't get the treatment or don't seek it out. So we have a lot of underdiagnosed, undertreated people who don't have the resources to it. And so then you add the pandemic again on top of it, which has been caused just an array of changes and stressors and losses and all kinds of things for people. I was looking the other day at a study that was done by the American Psychological Association, and they said that 80% of people in the US consider the pandemic to be a significant source of stress in their life. And so we're seeing, I know that's huge, right? And this is on top of like the normal mental health issues. And yeah, I mean, it's affecting us as individuals, our communities, our families, our society, our economy, our healthcare. It affects everything when we don't take care of mental health, not only for ourselves, but like advocate for mental health to be something that we value in our society, something that is, funded, and something that's available, and something that everyone has access to. So, sadly, mental health is not looking good at the moment, but that doesn't mean that there's not hope. I've also read studies that out of this pandemic, it is resiliency for people, having come through things like this. I think also, and maybe you've experienced this, I know I have, there with the pandemic and all the, there's a lot of negativity and loss, like I talked about. There's also bits and pieces of like positivity and growth and change that I wouldn't have experienced without a situation like this. And I try to focus on those things I can be grateful for, instead of all the negativity, that there is. So
Yes, great point. And I will say 2020, even I've ex- I we my family experienced loss, loved ones, friends, and so
I'm so
but
sorry.
in the midst of it all, it did push me, you're right, to higher heights, deeper depths. 2020, it didn't, I wasn't stopped in my tracks, but it pushed me to another level. And you are
Mhm.
absolutely right about that, focusing on, not just the negative or the displeasing or things that may have made us unhappy, but those things that we are blessed to
Mhm.
come through and experience on a daily basis. So absolutely.
Yeah, and they may not always look like that on the surface. The surface, it might look like something you don't want to do or something bad. But when you have that experience and work through
Mhm.
it, it makes you stronger and maybe, helps you grow in some way. So,
Absolutely, because when I look back, it's like amazing. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Some of the things that we were able to do last year,
Right,
amidst of, what the nation is going through. So I'm truly
you're right.
grateful for great points that you're bringing out.
Oh, good.
So let's
Same
get
with
to the
you.
meat of it. Yes, let's get to the meat. And many have
Yeah.
asked this question. This is one of the biggest questions out there. How can we recognize the
Mhm,
signs or symptoms of
mhm,
anxiety, depression in ourselves and in others? So, what are those
mhm.
signs that we should look for? How do we know that one is suffering from anxiety or stress?
Yeah, very good question. So I want to preface it with, anxiety and depression, like I said, they are like a category of disorders. So and you may have anxiety and you may have depression and not meet the criteria for a formal diagnosis, but you might. And then there's different severities, and then there's different types of anxiety, different types of depression. So I'm just going to generally go over some of the signs and symptoms for each one, to help raise awareness with, those groups of disorders, since they're the most common. And I would say, if you feel like, if you see these in yourself and others, and it's concerning, then there's no harm in talking to someone and seeing if if a physician or a therapist would be helpful for you. I'd always say, if you're worried about it and you have multiple of these symptoms, go, seek out help. And again, I'll share some resources later on. So for depression, the obvious one, feeling down, feeling low, and consistently and persistently. So, even when the situation changes, you still feel low. And that goes along with a loss of pleasure and interest in doing things that you used to like to do. A sense of hopelessness, like, what does it matter anyways? And a sense of helplessness, like, that would be thoughts like, well, I can't fix it anyways. Nothing's in my control. And this can sometimes go along with like suicidal ideation. So thoughts or talking about suicide. This is one, obviously, that is like very important. If you or someone is having thoughts of suicide or talking about death, you want to, call 911, go to the emergency room. They will, take you in there, and you need to do that one right away. So I like to always make sure that's clear, not to wait if it's suicidal or harm to someone else, harm to yourself. The other ones would be like fatigue, problems with sleeping, and it can go either way, like sleeping too much or not being able to fall asleep. Same thing with like eating and appetite and weight loss and weight gain. It can go either way. It can be overeating, it can be not eating at all. And a good way to think about it is, am I getting weight loss or weight gain unintentionally? Like, I didn't mean to do this, it's not what I wanted. Isolation, irritability, unexplained aches and pains. And then with anxiety, this is really the most common and so often not recognized. People, they think they know what anxiety is, but then they can't see it when it's happening. And my hunch, my theory is that we have normalized anxiety in our society a little bit, and created this society that's like, oh, everybody worries, or yeah, you should work yourself, too much or something. So I think it's normalized, and maybe that's why not everyone sees it. But signs of it are feeling nervous. A big one is having worrisome thoughts all the time, racing thoughts. Again, not, sleep problems, mostly not being able to sleep, but then maybe you're tired during the day, because the anxiety and those thoughts will take a lot of your energy away. Fatigue, there's some physical symptoms like a rapid heart rate, rapid breathing, sweating, trembling, and those are more associated with a panic attack. And with a panic attack, that's an extreme bout of anxiety where you may not know where the source is coming from, but you feel like you're going to die. That's what your brain has convinced you. So that's what a panic attack often looks like. And these also can be stomach ache, headaches, things like this. So, those are some of those you may have already known. Some of them, may be new, but it's good to have a refresher of like, am I feeling a whole bunch of these? maybe there's something going on with me or my child or my, friend.
Wow, amazing. And
Mhm.
like as you stated, Stephanie, we put it like it's normal to feel have these types of feelings, and in fact we need to be addressing them and not allowing them to build up not allowing them to continue because it could ultimately lead to a state where one is in a suicidal, thought pattern. And so those are some very good points. And I didn't realize that, you know, if one had the suicidal thoughts, could go to an emergency room and, get treatment or get help.
Yeah, and you absolutely can go into any emergency room for a mental health emergency. And this is, again, like we need to treat mental health like physical health.
Mhm.
What happens if you have diabetes and you let it go untreated? Same thing, right? It'll get worse,
Right,
you die. And
right,
mental health, they have intake. They will do an assessment. They will assess if you're safe, if you have resources. They might make referrals for inpatient stays. So
mhm,
yeah, I mean, that's not one to play around with, obviously. So
right,
if someone you know is feeling that way, if you're feeling that way, if your child is feeling that way, talking about it, don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes people will talk around it. They'll say,
right,
yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter anyways, or I don't care. Like, yeah, you can have all my possessions. Sometimes people think, well, I don't want to ask them if they're suicidal because that's rude, or, I don't want to bring it up and make them think of it. It's
mhm,
like, you ask because you would rather ask and have them talk to you and open up and help them than not ask because you're afraid and then, have a negative consequence or let their depression get worse and worse.
yes. And now that you're speaking, I remember an incident where I'd spoken with a gentleman, and he was his coworker was speaking around it, but ended up taking his life. And he was so hurt because he stated that he knows the signs of something like that, but didn't really take the steps to
Right.
assist this individual. So
It's
um,
hard.
it is hard. It's very hard, but it's necessary. Just like you
Mhm.
stated, if we had some ailments in our bodies physically, if our baby finger is hurting, we're gonna
Right.
scream loud, help me.
Right.
So and so like just like with when someone's speaking, out of not normal, and saying things that may help one to believe that they could be in a state where they may be suicidal, or may hurt themselves or someone else. And we have to step up and do our very best, to try to stop that. So I'm so grateful for this
Yeah.
conversation because I hear, every so often I'll hear of someone, they'll make a statement, years ago I was suicidal or wanted to
Mhm.
take my life, or and thank God they're still here.
Right.
But you just never know, someone may be feeling that way, and it just may end up, the way that we
Mhm.
don't want it to end up. So,
Right, exactly. So just it's good to be aware. And again, when I share some more resources at the end, I also
mhm,
have a national suicide prevention lifeline and a mental health lifeline that are open 24/7, 365. There's someone to talk to you, to give resources, to give support. It's totally confidential. So I'll share those too. And it doesn't hurt to write them down and it just to say
right.
there's someone that maybe you are afraid they are, but they don't want to admit it. Maybe you give them the hotline. And even people, if you're afraid for someone else, you can call the hotline and say, what should I
Mhm.
do? Please help.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Even that
Mhm.
is great to
Yeah.
know that, you can call someone because a lot of times we don't know what to say, don't know what to, do. And to be able to speak with someone to coach us through it, I guess it's almost like, giving CPR to someone, or if you call
Right.
911 and they're telling you how to,
I
help
like these,
yourself. Like,
these analogies. I like this
yes,
'cause it's like, yes, we see how it's just as important. It's just as
right.
shouldn't be afraid to talk about.
Right. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Now this is amazing. This is one of the new terms that we, been hearing a lot of, the self-care. During
Mhm.
the pandemic, the last few years, we've heard a lot about self-care. So what are some self-care activities that we can do to improve our mental health? I need to hear this. Stephanie, you gotta help me.
Well, I don't know that I don't claim to be perfect at any of this. I have knowledge, I have some experience, so I hope this is helpful stuff. Um,
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? Self-care can mean so many different things so everyone's unique again. And so, you have to find what works for you and think about what makes me feel calm and then integrate that into the plan. But we do know generally there are some things that, are helpful for most or all of us, how we need to take care of ourselves. So I can't go over all of them, but I tried to think of some that I find really meaningful and helpful. And I did talk about this on Fox 2 over Christmas, and I'm going to go in a little more depth about some of the things I talked about there. One of the things, this is funny because I just heard this morning on a video, and it was like a social media video, and someone said, "What is something you wish you knew a long time ago, but now you know?" And what she said talked about self-care, and she said that self-care is not always pretty. It's not always beautiful. We think of self-care like sometimes like, oh, I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to go get a massage. Don't get me wrong. It's those things too. It's not always pretty. Sometimes it's putting debt on a spreadsheet. Sometimes it's enforcing a healthy morning routine. Sometimes it's cooking healthy and eating healthy. These things aren't always fun. Sometimes it's recognizing someone in your life that's toxic or abusive and having to set boundaries or tell them that you can't be around them anymore. It's not pretty. That's not what we think of self-care. So it's really a wide scope of how do you care for, protect, keep your mental health well. So being in the present moment is one I always go with first, because we often don't do that, and I'll explain. So we think, oh, well, I'm here right now. What do you mean? I'm in the present moment. But most of the time, a lot of the time, we're in our heads, right? And that means like we're thinking about the future that hasn't happened yet, worrying about it, projecting about it, or our brain is in the past thinking about something that already happened and that mostly we can't change or do anything about. Sometimes we can do little things to rectify a situation, but I was just thinking today when I was getting ready, I'm like, in the bathroom doing something, my hair, and I'm like, right now I'm not present. I'm not mindful because I'm thinking about this and that and this and that. And I'm like, am I even paying attention to what I'm doing? Or am I doing it automatically? Yeah. So it means being here now. And so how do you do that? And one of the main ways is to focus on all 5 of your senses. And I mean, your sight, what you feel, what you hear, what you smell, and what you taste. So just stop in that moment and focus on your senses. That will turn this off and bring you into your body. And I put an exercise on my website under resources, and it's called 5-4-3-2-1 exercise. And basically, this is one you can do quickly, or as quick as you want, but you just stop in the moment when you need to be in the present moment, when you need to feel grounded, or practice it, once a day. And you are going to identify 5 things you can see, and then 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. And it's forcing you to be in your body right now. Another good example is if you are to go outside and say, I'm going to stop what I'm worrying, I'm stressing myself out. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to be present, and then go to your senses and say, I see the blue sky. I feel the sun on my face. I, feel my shirt touching my shoulders. I smell the crisp air. I smell freshly cut grass. I hear traffic. I hear the wind blowing. I hear kids playing over there. And taste might be, I taste the coffee that I drank earlier today in my mouth or something. But if people really, get into this, you can carry things with you that smell good, like essential oils or gum or a mint or something. So when you do this exercise, like you have something to focus on your smell and your taste. And this is like training your mind to stop with the like incessant thoughts and worries and to be here now, because our life will pass us by, right? And we will spend all of our time worrying about the past and the future and never in the moment. And that's where we want to be. That's how we live, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
something like that, it also it forces you to appreciate the now. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think about like where everyone's into cell phones and devices and technology, and people are utilizing their cell phones to take pictures and as cameras now. and you'll see many at a, an event, something, a meaningful event, something that maybe,
I have done this.
like, yeah,
Yes.
we're taking photos, 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 photos. But what are you looking at with your natural eye? Are you really taking, appreciating what you're a part of? You're taking photos, 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 but you're
You're
not
missing the actual experience and like,
the
yeah,
experience.
yes.
Yes. And I
Mhm.
love that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Mhm.
because it makes you appreciate the now. Like you stated, we're so focused on, what's going to happen tomorrow or the next hour
Right.
or, next week. But what about now?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah. And there's
not,
another, oh, go
yeah,
ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead. I'm excited about that.
I know, it's a great exercise. And if you know these things, it's like little things you can do anytime, anywhere to
Right.
calm yourself. And another one that helps put you in the present moment is breathing. And
Mhm.
this seems easy, like, oh, we all breathe. But I'll tell you, most of us breathe shallow, kind of like up here. So we're breathing,
Mhm.
you know,
I'm stressed
through the
out.
whole day. Yeah. And we're really meant to breathe like from down here, from our belly. So they'll call it belly breathing. And I put an exercise again on my, or a link or something on my website to that. And really, breathing deeply is what humans are supposed to do. It helps your body function, gets you more blood flow, more oxygen, everything. So if you, and tons of science and research has shown, if you take a moment to breathe deeply, and like if you put your hand down here in your stomach and you breathe in, you want to feel this expand. You don't want to feel it here. You want to feel it down here. And if you can inhale and exhale, like the equal amounts of time. So if you did inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3, inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3. If you try that, or if even if you did it just now, you will feel a difference in your body. It calms your nervous system, and it is a way to get you out of this like panic and into like regulate your whole body almost instantly. So we need to breathe, right? That's
To breathe. Yes, we need to breathe.
yeah. And sleep, diet, exercise, those are things that are talked about a lot. And they're very much linked to wellness and mental health wellness. As well. So, things that seem obvious, breathe, be in the moment, eat, sleep, we have to do them right. We have to prioritize it, make it a goal, make it a priority if we want to keep going. Otherwise we'll burn out eventually. You can only go so long.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a very important word, priority,
Mhm.
prioritizing it. And I think that's one of the key things that will help us to betterment in these times. And even though I absolutely love what I do, I love ministry, but I will burn myself out. My father will say, Brenda, you can't do it all. And and we're encouraged
Me too.
to do the things that you love, but you can get burned out doing the things that you love because you love them so much you don't have time for anything
Right.
else and you're stressed out about how, and
Well, and
anxiety.
you're saying a great example of another self-care thing, which is boundaries. And
Boundaries.
you have
Yeah.
to set healthy boundaries around yourself and, think about your goals, your wellness, what you're able to do, what's realistic to do, and put boundaries around things like, I can't work myself hours and hours and hours and then I didn't sleep and now I can't, because then you're no good to anybody, right?
Yeah.
You have to have those healthy boundaries. And I love, talking about something you love. And, for this, and I love doing this. I get excited about it. I love that you love what you do. A lot of people aren't as fortunate, and I've been there where you're not doing what you love for work.
Yeah.
But you should find something that you love and try to incorporate it into your life. And if it was something that you can't do anymore, like let's say you used to like to go to dance classes or out to restaurants or something, take the components of it that you love and that are meaningful and that make you happy, and find a modified way to do it. Do a Zoom class, exercise class, dance in your living room, call friends, have a Zoom meeting, play a game on Zoom, or use technology, do a phone call, like do something where time stands still when you're doing it because it means so much to you. So think, maybe it's about going back in your history and going, well, what did I used to like to do? Or try
Mhm.
something new. Maybe you haven't found what you love.
Yes, I love that. Do something that you love. Incorporate something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yes, boundaries. That is so important. I love that. So many helpful tips, Stephanie.
Oh,
I'm
good.
loving it. I'm loving it. You're helping me. I'm
Oh, good.
grateful
I
for
hope
you.
so. That's the goal.
Yes. So let's switch around a little bit. We had a
Yeah.
question that came in with regards to seasonal affect disorder.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the question came in, can you give tips for those who have seasonal affect disorder, but are now also challenged with the isolation of COVID-19?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think it helps bring awareness to seasonal affective disorder because everybody might not know what that is. It is a mood disorder where you have a depressive episode or depressive symptoms that occurs the same time every year. And it's often seen in climates like ours in Michigan, where there's a time of year where there's less sunshine. And so you'll see it, like right now, where it starts to get kind of gloomy. And this is something, that has been proven to affect people. We know vitamin D in the sun helps our mood. And most of us in Michigan are low in vitamin D. Um,
Mhm.
so, it has symptoms similar to depression. So feeling down, fatigued, social withdrawal, isolation. And whoever put this question is absolutely right. I mean, COVID makes it worse, right? Because now we're dealing with that and now we can't leave the house. So we can't connect with people and we don't have as many resources and options. And maybe we're dealing with loss and stuff like that too. So the number one thing I would say is connect and reach out. And just like with mental health, like self-care, you have to prioritize it and be intentional about it. Because in the world we're living in, and really in general, like things don't happen on their own. We might think, well, people just make friends on their own or they connect on their own. You have to reach out to do that. And so if you are very depressed and have a lot of symptoms, and again, if you have suicidal ideation, anything like that, you need to seek immediate help. But, connect, reach out to someone, just even if it's a friend, to tell them how you're feeling. And if you need help, like maybe you don't know how to use Zoom, but you'd love to do it. A lot of us have learned lately. So I'm sure
All right.
can help, and is willing to, like, hey, can you help me set up a video call? I really want to connect with people. Or even if you call, some of the hotlines and stuff like that. And then, give yourself grace and understanding right now, because we are in a global pandemic. And if you hold the expectation that you should be functioning as normal and I should be at my best right now, I think that's so unrealistic. And then it adds this additional layer, like you're already feeling bad. And now I'm, judging myself because I'm not well or at my best. And it's like, well, no, you shouldn't have to be. These are wild times right now. So yeah, sometimes just like having that level of understanding about yourself can give it ease. Like, okay, you know what? I feel this way, but I'm going to get through this. And it's okay. Maybe I need to be sad about something for a minute. And of course, reach out for help when you need it and take care of yourself.
Yes. So like speaking like positive affirmations, those it was like what you're saying, and talking to others, your support group, being around others that can help you through, this time, speaking
Mhm.
positively, just connecting, sharing through Zoom, even though, we may not be able to do it so much physically so much, but we can connect through
Mhm.
Zoom. I remember last year, my family, we had a whole family. We gathered on Zoom. We did it a few times, through the holidays and things like that.
Oh,
But one specific time, we were on for 8 or 9 hours, just
I love that.
encouraging. I know, it just stayed so close to my heart. We were encouraging one another, uplifting one another, giving, saying positive things about one another. And I
Yes.
felt so, to the fact we were on there 8 or 9 hours. That's just how
Oh,
great it
that's
was.
awesome.
I know,
Yeah.
literally, we started at, I want to say 1 in the afternoon, and we were on to like 11 at night. It was just
Oh
a
my gosh.
wonderful time. And things like that, just putting a group together saying, hey, I'm feeling down. Look, let's get, can I get 3 or 4 of my friends? Let's get together on Zoom and let's
Yes.
talk.
And
And
there's so
we
many
enjoy
different
that.
Yeah, and there's tons of platforms. I see Zoom because we're on it now, but of course,
Right.
like, Facebook and
Facebook.
Instagram and all
Absolutely.
kinds of apps and stuff. And I hearing your story about that. And I talked about it on a different thing on Fox 2 about connection. And I
Yeah.
have that on my website, the link to that. But though, in kind of looking into it to talk about it,
Mhm.
one thing that stood out to me so much is that you have to be intentional about connection. And
Exactly.
it can help to like set something like, what kind of connection do you want to make with people? And we can still have those sense of connection with each other, even not being in the same room, right? Like you and I are connecting right now and we understand each other. And so it's like, you can create that, but be intentional about it and know what you want. And sometimes putting like an activity, like a game or baking or something, makes it people more likely to be involved and to feel like it's something they want to be a part of and create that connection. So I love your story though. That is awesome with your family.
It stays in my heart. And I hear you saying strongly, we have to be intentional. We have to make our mental health a priority. And I think the reason why we're in a condition that we're in, just for lack of better words, is because we haven't made our mental health priority. We haven't been intentional. We pushed it to the side. But we think, oh, we'll, get past it. But we must take the time out to focus on it and to get, healthy, because it's meant for us to be healthy and not to live in a life and a mindset where we're constantly hurting and feeling down and feeling deprived.
Yes.
And
And I
so,
think that's coming up for a lot of people right now. Is this
mhm,
is this what it's supposed to be like? And it's not.
right,
And
right.
maybe this is why, again, I feel strong about talking about it, because
Hmm.
it's one thing to fix it, but if you can't even see it or recognize it, it's hard to fix.
Right.
And I have this quote that I love, and I'm going to share it with you. And
Right.
it's from a psychologist who comes from the same background, like humanistic psychology, Carl Jung. And he says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will
Mhm.
affect your life and you will call it fate. And
Wow.
it resonates with me because I know what it's like to be unawake, to have my eyes closed to these things, to not know, hear some of the stuff I'm talking about. And then I know what it's like to wake up to it and what life is like on the other side. Not to say that it's an easy journey. It's got its bumps, ups and downs of healing and growth. But again, that's what it means to be human. And so I feel like just talking about it and raising people's awareness of these issues and helping them understand what they are and what they look like and that it's normal so is just as important as, well, okay, now I know what it is. Well, how do I help myself? They're equal. So.
Yes. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Mhm.
Okay, here's a doozy for us.
Okay.
Let's get through this one. So we are deprived of social gathering in general. People around us are dying. There hasn't been any sunshine, you mentioned that, for the last 2 weeks of the new year. And the economy is leaving people without food, jobs, and unable to pay their mortgages. How can I not be depressed, mentally sad, and lacking energy? Oh.
Oh, it makes you sad to read it, doesn't it?
Yes.
It hurts a little. Well, you know what? This question, I want to say first, like, yes, right? These are true. A lot of these things are happening. They are. And I want to acknowledge this and say, I don't want to discount these circumstances and like not only whoever wrote the question, but other people who feel like this. I don't want to discount their feelings and their, because those are real and those are valid. And sometimes, like I said before, if we are already feeling bad and then we're like saying, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, well, then it's another layer of hurt or pain we got to get through. So if we can acknowledge our pain and say, yeah, I'm sad. This is loss. This is change. I'm having a hard time. I'm struggling, and like be with those emotions. Sometimes we need to grieve, we need to be sad. We need to let ourselves feel, which it can be hard. But I want to say, give yourself compassion, give yourself kindness, give yourself the grace and the space to do that. This is a global pandemic. I mean, sometimes we forget. Like, sometimes I look around in the grocery store at everyone with masks on, and I'm like, is this real life? Like, where
Right,
am I? Am
right,
I dreaming? So, I mean, we can't forget how wild and unprecedented this is. And then to go with all the other stuff mentioned. So, yes, I feel you, is what I'm saying.
yes.
Other part to that I want to say is to start with something small. You know, like I said, stress is within us, right? It's our thoughts, our feelings. And don't judge that stuff. But if you're trying to change, you know, this kind of like, how can I not be depressed? Of course I'm gonna be depressed. If you're trying to change how you feel, you have to start with your thoughts, because our thoughts directly related to how we feel. So
Mhm.
you can start small and make a goal and just say to yourself, okay, every day I'm going to name one thing. I know it might be hard, but I'm going to think of one thing that I am truly grateful for. Not like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for this. Like, no, truly grateful for. And it can be small. It can be, I'm grateful for this soft comforter that I like, you know, I'm grateful for the sun came out for a little bit today and I felt it. Find something and note it mentally, write it down. There's a great app, which I'll show you later, called, what is it called? Gratitude. And it prompts you like, okay, write your one thing, and it allows you to put affirmations into. So that's a good, you know, start.
Yes, I did see something like that today. I'm like, wow, this is great. I saw an app that, would point out, would tell, push you to, think of some things that you're grateful for. And I thought that was awesome. And yes,
Yes.
I love, and we teach in ministry to renew our minds, daily, not to let, the negativity and the thoughts from, the prior moment, the prior day to come in to continue, but to renew, refresh. And so I love
Right. And
what
say it
you're
out
saying.
loud, you know, say it out
Yes,
loud. I'm releasing the negative energy of yesterday, I'm
yes,
releasing this, and, you know, and then say out loud what you're grateful for. This will really help transform how you feel.
yes, love it. Love that. Stephanie, okay, what you kind of talked about this a little bit.
Okay,
This is one of the questions that came in. What
sure.
steps can a person take to move past emotional trauma and abuse? Emotional trauma, what are the steps they recognize? What should they do?
Yeah. So this is a big question. This is a very big, deep question. And it also is a question of my heart because I am passionate about trauma. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's because I know that if we ignore it, we see what we see now in the world, right? There's a hurt and there's fear and aggression and depression and all these things. But if we can address it, there's so much hope on the other side. So that's why it's a question that I love. I'm going to try to answer it simply because I've given and written about this topic. So it's hard for me just to say, oh, this is how you fix it. It's really not that simple, right? Sometimes trauma is something that's happened over years and it's been normalized in our world of, you know, the way we act and treat people. And so there's a lot of trauma in the world. So, you know, I think the number one thing I would say is to get help, get professional help, and seek out a counselor or therapist that is a trauma specialist. Ask them, are you specialized in trauma? What is your experience with it? What is your training in it? Because you want someone who understands trauma. Trauma is very complex. It's stored not only in our memories, but it's stored in our feelings, our brains, our nervous systems. And you can't just use the old traditional therapies to get it out. It takes time. So my number one thing would be, you know, look for professional help, seek to understand it with support. Because once you start opening the door to trauma and abuse, there can be a lot of scary things in there that are triggering, meaning like you touch it, you talk about it, and it's like very overwhelming to your body, your mind, everything. So you want that professional support to help guide you through it and help you build up good coping skills and help you create a safe space for yourself to address these things. And just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And it's better than, you know, like any life you've been living. Because when trauma is in your life, it like has a dark shadow over everything. I hear a lot of people say they feel like they have a hole in their soul. And I feel like that's such a deep thing to say. But again, it also resonates with me because I've had trauma and I know what that feels like. and we're walking around trying to fill that hole with anything, right? Money, sex, drugs, and then it never turns out good. But if we can return to our whole self, which is why I came up with Healing the Whole for my website, is, that's who we truly are, that wholeness. And if you can start that journey and start to look at those hard things, you can, through self-love and gratitude and compassion and all these things, return to your whole self. That was always there all along, So I don't know an easy answer to how to heal trauma. That's just
yeah, I love it, love it, love it. This one kind of go along with that as we're kind of winding down. It says, at what point should a person seek out professional counseling? At what point,
yeah.
should we say, no longer I'm gonna, try to deal with this on my own, but seek out professional counseling?
I'm going to give you my biased answer and my unbiased answer.
Mhm.
Full disclosure, my biased answer as a therapist, a psychologist, just even as a human, I think everybody should go to therapy because why not? Like that's like you have someone who's non-judgmental in a private, confidential environment, who's supportive and objective and empathic, that can help you. It's like a life coach. Like you can say things to them and they can kind of bounce it back at you. And I always say, when you're looking for a therapist, if the first one you meet, you get like, it's not a good fit, look for someone else. I mean, not everyone is a good fit for these sensitive topics. I even would tell my clients, like, if you don't feel like I'm working for you, I will help you find someone better. And I will never be offended because I care about you and your well-being. And so find a good therapist. And, my objective answer is, if your ability to function well in your life and do the things you want to do is impacted, or you're feeling distressed and it's interfering with your life, like it's interfering with your work, your school, your relationships, your parenting, causing health issues, that would be a more objective answer of when it's time to look for a counselor.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And what about like children? And how do we recognize or identify mental health issues in children?
Sure. And I'll preface this with saying I'm not a pediatric specialist, but I know a fair amount about pediatric psychology. I had a mentor, and this is another thing that stuck with me, that said, kids are like house plants. And when you're dealing with a child in therapy, and it might sound weird, but this is how, your house plant, I have several, tell me what's wrong with it, right? But if I see that it's yellow and mushy, I'm like, ooh, maybe too much water. And I see if it's brown and dry and crispy, like, oh, maybe it's too close to the vent. Maybe I didn't water it enough. Maybe it needs a bigger pot. Kids can't tell you because they don't have the ability to formulate what's happening in them and then express it to you. And so with kids, it's about observation and asking. And if you're concerned and you think there's a problem, it cannot hurt to reach out and get help. Talk to their primary care doctor. And finding a therapist for yourself or your child, you can look on the back of your insurance card and call that number and say, I'm looking for a counselor in my area that accepts this insurance. And again, on the slide at the end, I'll show you some more resources. But, in general, if kids are having a major change in mood, if they're persistently sad, withdrawn, their personality change, behavior change, maybe they're avoiding school, maybe they're getting in trouble. With kids, frequent headaches and stomach aches can be signs of anxiety or depression or other things. So it's really, observing. And a lot of the symptoms are similar to what you would see in adults, but they're not able to tell us that as much.
Wow, really good. Love that.
Yeah.
And then one other good question that came in too is, does a person, and I hear this question a lot, so I'm glad that this came in. Does a person always have to be on medication to help with mental illness?
So the short answer is no, right? And the long answer is a little more complex. Everyone's unique. Everyone's different. It depends on the person. It depends on the circumstances, depends on genetics. It depends on the condition and the severity of the condition. So with depression and anxiety, they have found the very best outcomes with combining psychotherapy with medication, both. But that doesn't mean everyone has to do both. Then there's other conditions where medication might be more necessary. So if you're going back to talking about physical health, a quick comparison, if we have diabetes, our body's not producing insulin, right? And so we take insulin, the medication, to get our body back to where it should be so it can function properly. Now, if you have depression and your brain is not producing enough dopamine or enough serotonin because of whatever, it could be genetic, it could be something from the past, it could be an injury to the brain, well, then are you going to deprive your brain of, a medication that can increase serotonin and dopamine and get you back to normal like you would with, insulin and diabetes? So it's not a one size fits all solution. Talk to your doctor and your counselor, and it'll take time of kind of like what helps me, what works for me. And no medication, not everyone has to take medication, and don't let that be something that holds you back from, seeking help. And I want to say there's a big, difference in a psychologist versus a psychiatrist. So a psychologist is a counselor that will talk to you in a session and doesn't prescribe medications, and a psychiatrist will prescribe medications. So they're not the same. You can look for a therapist, a counselor, a social worker that will talk to you, and they're not someone who's going to force medications on you, and they don't prescribe them anyway. So
Wow.
yeah.
I love it. So there is help, not always have to look at, medication, but things can be talked through, and sometimes that's just what's needed. Just,
Right. Again, it's not a one size fits all. It's kind of like, what is my circumstance? What do I need? And it might be highly recommended. They might say you really would benefit from medication. Well, then ask your own questions like you would with any medication.
Exactly.
Well, what are the side effects? How is it going to make my life better or worse? Are there different options? Do your research on those. And I would say, don't be afraid to, look into things and at least learn about them and see if there's something that would help you.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. Okay, we're right at the end, and we definitely want you to be able to share your resources and all.
Yeah, let me figure out if I can share my screen here. Give me 1 second.
Yes, let's see. I'm going to give you
Let's see if it works.
view.
Oh, did it work?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yay. I have a little Zoom experience, so it's okay. So I will just say really quickly on this slide, there is my website, and I tried to put, and I'll put more, resources. Just if you go to healingthewhole.org and go to resources and scroll down, I put some of the things we talked about. I wrote down a couple other things I'll put on there for you guys. I have some books, that stuff, and then I have Facebook and Instagram and all those. But, also I wanted to share here, in case you don't have time or the ability to go to the website, the Mental Health National Hotline and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Those are right up there. And for counseling, again, if you're looking for a therapist and looking for help, you can call your insurance. If you have Medicaid or Medicare, or aren't sure, Wayne County Mental Health, I put the number up there, and then Oakland County, their entry point is Common Ground for people looking for, mental health services or case management or anything like that, and they will take it from there. There are also free and low cost therapy services. The Michigan School Psychological Clinic, and that's where I graduated from, and I just love the philosophy there, but they just opened a low cost clinic that does therapy, and they do it on a sliding scale based on income. And so does the Wayne State University Psychology Clinic. So the number's there. And then the one last thing I put is Psychology Today, which is a website, and it has all like mental health counselors and programs, and you can search by area code, you can search by specialty. So if you're looking for a trauma specialist, you can search by what type of insurance you have, if they take sliding scale, and then you can read a little bio of all the therapists and see if there's someone that you feel like you would connect with. And then I put the 3 little apps here that I thought are good. Calm, Gratitude, and Insight Timer all have great resources for self-care, reducing anxiety, doing gratitude journals, affirmations, all right on your phone. Calm has a lot of guided visualizations and meditations, and so does Insight Timer. So they have free versions and paid versions. So that is that. And, my contact, if you go to my website or my Facebook, if you have any questions or anything, you can always message me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Wow. Absolutely phenomenal, Stephanie.
Thank
you. So excited. We will definitely be taking advantage of the resources, and we definitely have to have you back. We have to do something where we can make a huge and just to promote your business, promote your what you're doing. It's such a wonderful thing, helping people,
Oh.
getting people healthy. So we definitely, I'm
I would be
hoping,
honored to come back. And like I said, I'm passionate about talking, as you can probably
yes,
tell
I
we've
love
gone
it.
over.
I love it.
But yeah, yeah, I'm so happy we connected and got to be together this evening. And I hope that this helped, all the viewers and anyone who's present this evening.
Yes, yes, this is something that we must continue. It's something that we are going to be intentional about. We're going to make it a priority. And I'm just honored and elated that we have such like minds and and I love your heart. You have such a heart for people, and it's just such a blessing. And I'm so grateful. And we definitely want to do something huge for you, and definitely want to keep the connection and the relationship just to ensure people are staying healthy and we can get through, know that we can get through anything together. And it just takes all of us working together. And I just thank you so much for that. You are
Thank you.
absolutely wonderful. Absolutely
So are you.
phenomenal.
So are you.
Oh my gosh, words cannot explain. It's indescribable, my feelings right now. You want to just take a moment. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being with us. Thank you, viewers. And we want to continue to share this because it'll be recorded, it'll be saved. We can share it. We want everyone, as many as possible, to be able to watch this if they weren't able to watch it live, to get this valuable information. I feel so much better even right now, and I know that you do. Just want to take a few minutes to pray for you, and then we'll be dismissing. Just want to remind you to be with us this Sunday at 10 a.m., 16299 John R at the Cathedral of Soul Harvest Ministries. Come check us out on our campus. Be with us. Let us know that you've enjoyed this segment, and we're going to be doing more and connecting more for healing the body, healing the mind, healing the soul. It's so important to God. And we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and doing our part to ensure your success. Father, we just thank you for everyone that is connected tonight. And we ask that you will just touch the hearts of the people and allow us to be intentional about our self care, about our soul, about our mental capacity, about our mental health. We don't want to take it for granted anymore. We know that it's a special part of us and that we must be intentional about keeping our minds healthy. Father, we ask that you will touch us tonight and that we will continue to go and continue to move towards prosperity in our minds. We don't want to be tricked by the enemy and by his devices. But we ask right now in the name of Jesus that you will help us to remain healthy in our minds. Help us to continue to connect, to get more information, to love one another, to support one another through these trying times and to depend on you. Father, we thank you for this time and we ask that you will bless everyone that's connected tonight, even Stephanie tonight, her family, her home, her business, her practice. Father, we ask that you will continue to excel her because of her love for the people and her heart to ensure that people are healthy. We just thank you and we bless you tonight and we lift you up. We thank you. No one like you. We love you for this time and making us better in you. In Jesus' name we pray. We thank you. Amen. 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 Stephanie, thank you. My heart is open to you. I thank you. We're here for anything that you need. We're going to be doing more for sure. We're bringing you back. It's going to
Oh,
be huge. I already know it. I already feel it. It's going to be wonderful. Thank you. I thank you, viewers. And we pray that you have a wonderful weekend. The sun will be coming out. I believe even the news they stated that we hadn't had sun all this the what 8 days of the year, maybe 30% today, but tomorrow the sunshine will be coming out, and I think the next 7 days we will be able to enjoy
something
sunshine.
to be grateful for, right?
Yes, yes. So do those 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tonight and tomorrow. And let's stay connected with Stephanie. Go to her website and let's support and let's all come together in unity and love. God bless you. Thank you, Stephanie. You're the best.
Thank you so much.
you.
I was wonderful to be here tonight. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, yes.
Okay.